Hey, if you're a creative man, this video is for you. I'm going to talk about the 3 things that you need to know as a creative man to make sure that you're doing your best work, putting your best work out there, being able to provide for yourself and your family, and leaving behind a body of work that you can be proud of. Let's do it. So in today's episode of Things You Didn't Ask About, but I'm going to tell you anyway, I recently took a hiatus of sorts from social media, and I did that to get some peace back into my brain, because I don't know about you if you feel like this or not. Sometimes it can be a little overwhelming to my system, and I have a hard time disconnecting from everything that's going on in the world, and I don't have time for that because I'm here to make some cool stuff, and I think you are too. So I had to disconnect from that, but I did that with the exception of YouTube, and I'm going to come back to that in a second. But over the course of that time that I was taking a break and like kind of just going inward and focusing and locking down on stuff, I decided to go on a bit of a quest. And that quest was to look for creators that are still showing up despite any sort of chaos I may be presenting in the world. They're still showing up. They're still doing their work. And I was surprised to find, especially on YouTube, that there is a lot of people who continue to show up no matter what. And they're just doing their work. Like they're individual creators, not companies. They're doing their work and they're creating things consistently over a long period of time. And I thought, that's actually like at the core of everything that I care about too, which is the ability to continue to create good work for a long time without stopping. And it was so inspiring to me that I eventually decided to come out of that hiatus of social media and continue my work and continue creating, because that's what we're here to do. And so if it's important to you, like it's important to me, to create good work, to be providing for my family, to be continuing to show up, then this video is for you, because I'm going to talk about the 3 things that you need that I've thought about since then. But the reason I'm bringing all this up is because of that simple idea of creating good work for a long time without stopping. That is my definition of a resilient creative. They can stand up in the face of anything that's going on in their life, in their world, and they will get back to work. There's such a deep drive and desire for what they do that they can make it anyway. Now, throughout time, and I've talked about this in different classes like the creative codes and things like this, there's been prolific creatives and artists and people who have made stuff that have created work in crazy times. That's not what we're talking about here. That is something you can do. There's a difference, though, between creatives who just made stuff and were prolific during that time and creatives that made stuff and were thriving. Right? So if you want to be a resilient creative, you want to be on this side, right? You want to be a creative who is making stuff, you're prolific, but you're also thriving and sane. Because we all know people who are crazy brilliant and they make good stuff, but their life is just completely tortured. I don't want that to be you. So that's why I do what I do. So all that to say, I'm going to bring you 3 things today that you can do at any time, but specifically I'm going to give you a few things you can do every day to make sure that you're able to show up as your best self in your work and continue to show up no matter what. So that's what we're going to talk about here. Okay, so the first thing you need as a creative man to be able to continue to make your best work and leave behind a body of work you can be proud of is you need to have a strong and clear vision. Vision is something that we all probably have a pretty easy time of coming up with. It's something we don't have any trouble as creative people seeing the future, right? We can go there, we can talk about it, we can feel it, we can touch it, we can taste it. That is what we do. So this beautiful skill that you probably have innately as a creative, which is just the ability to see things that maybe other people have a hard time seeing and putting together pieces that may not seem obvious to other people, that's your superpower. And so we need to get specific on that for you, your family, where you're taking your work, because that is a big part of this whole thing. If we can't make sure that we have that solid for ourselves, then we have no hope of communicating it to the people outside of us, right? No hope. And people aren't going to get it. They're not going to see it as clearly as you, but that doesn't matter. You still have to do the work in the dark and the damp to make that stuff exist. And what I mean by that is, I talk about this analogy all the time, but a tree grows in two directions, right? It goes up and it grows down. And the part that grows down, we call the roots. The part that grows up, we call the tree and the fruit, right? So the roots, they grow down, they grow through the dirt where it's hard to grow through and it's slow and it has to be this huge foundation that happens, but it's a continuous growth that happens in the dark and the damp. And that's the work that makes the tree visible to other people. See, other people don't care about the roots. They don't care about the roots until they see the tree. And so your job is to be able to craft those roots. And that root system is something that nobody will ever see, but that's the vision that you're holding on a daily basis to make sure that you have what it takes to get up and get rolling on your stuff, no matter what's going on. Now, and I have a simple exercise for you to do this on a daily basis. And it's super simple. I'm not even going to show you how to do it. I'm just going to tell you, take 5 minutes every single day. Well, first of all, I want you to write this down. I want you to write down exactly where you're going and paint a vivid picture of it. There's a video on this channel. I think it's called Time Travel, or that's what the thumbnail says, Time Travel. And so you go watch that video and it'll walk you through an exercise to really get specific about what this vision is. But once you have that, you can look at it every single day and take 5 minutes, and meditate on it. And just think about, this is where I'm going, and hold that intention for yourself, because nobody else is going to do this for you, right? So we hold that intention for ourselves, and that's going to help you have a stronger vision for where you're going. So that's thing number one. The second thing you need to know is you need to be able to work towards that vision every single day. You need a consistent, habitual action that you take that puts you closer to the vision. So let's say you're an author or a photographer, but we'll go with author for this example. Let's say you're an author, you're writing a book this year. It's happening. You have to put it out. The vision for everything you're going to communicate with this message, and maybe the show you're going to produce around it, whatever. All this stuff is encompassing it. And you can see the vision and where you want to go. Well, what does it take to get there? What can I do habitually every single day to get closer to that goal? Maybe it's write 1,000 words a day. Maybe it's, write 2,000 words a day, or whatever the thing is. You need something that you can do consistently every single day. So for me, one of the things is just to get on this camera, look at it, and create content. And some days it's easier than others, but you know what? The habit of sitting down here and having a few notes and looking at the camera and talking about this stuff, that's the thing that cues my body to say, oh, this thing is important to him. It must be important to him. He's spending so much time with it. And it starts to ease that change meter inside of all of us, because you know that we're kind of allergic to change as humans. Our nervous system, our brain doesn't want us to do it. It wants to keep us safe. And anything that is change feels like we're about to jump off a cliff, and we don't know what happens on the other side of that, because this is different, bro. We need everything to be the same. And so if you stop doing something or start doing something that is going to be beneficial to put you closer to where you want to be, your brain and your nervous system sort of freaks out. So we got to do something that we can do every day that's going to cue ourselves to be like, okay, all right, seems like he's got this. We don't have to override this and make everything crash apart in his life, So what can you do every single day habitually to move the vision forward? Now, this isn't the only thing you're going to do throughout the day, of course, but the other part of this meditation, this 5-minute meditation, where you lock in the vision, and then I want you to write down 3 actions that you're going to take today to get you closer to where you want to go. And then go do those things. As easy as that. So that's thing number 2. The third thing that you have to do goes back to my entire point at the beginning of this video, is that you have to take care of your creative mind. I don't know where you land on the empathic scale. I think most of us dudes have a hard time with tapping into feelings and things like that. I totally get that. But when things are going on in the world for me, I feel them pretty hard, and so I have to take care of my creative mind, not just to protect it from that, but to make sure that I'm creating my best work. That means I have to be intentional about what's going in. I have to be intentionally consuming books and podcasts and programs that are fueling me creatively. I have a constant inflow of positive ideas going into my mind so that my brain can make the connections that create creativity and makes new ideas. And that's what we need to come from you too, right? So We have to have a constant input, a positive input. We have to block out negative inputs that are going to slow us down or create some sort of drag or create a feeling in you that is not good. That's going to slow you down. That's going to make you not want to make stuff. We can't afford to do that. And that means that we're going to control our inputs in order to control our outputs. What do I mean by that? I mean that creativity, and the way creativity works is that something comes in, a new idea comes in, and it connects with an old idea, and a spark happens, and that's where the new idea comes from. Those two ideas converging, the new and the old, and it creates a new pathway for you, and you have this like, aha, this is it. That can't happen without new information. Now, we live in a world where we're not lacking for information, right? Information is everywhere. It's constantly being bombarded onto us. And so that's not a problem. The problem is, what information are we taking in? And so that's where the taking care of your creative mind has to come from. This is not the only part, but it's part one. You need to make sure that you are being intentional about what's going in. That means that you're going to choose specific books. You're going to choose specific podcasts. You're going to choose specific maybe channels to consume. And that's really it. You're going to be intentional about the information that you're consuming because you know what the vision is for your life. You know where you're trying to take things. You know where you're trying to go. You know the actions you need to take. You know the problems you're trying to solve. So what are the things that you need to put in your brain that are going to help you connect the dots so that you can make better work? Like, this is how pros do things, right? If you're a creative and you want to be a pro, this is how pros work. Pros consume things and make sure that they take care of the things that are going to make them better, right? So that has to happen. So, but in order to take care of your creative mind, it's not just that. We have to control the inputs, but we also have to control the negative inputs that are coming in. That might mean that anything that we don't have control of, like social media, you don't have control of what's going to come up and what's going to happen in the world. You don't have control of it. And so literally, part of what I do is I create stuff on the internet and I put it out there, and you probably do too. So I have to post things online. But that doesn't mean that I have to stick around. I can post. You've heard of post and ghost, right? I'm talking about posting and deleting the app off your phone until it's time to go in there again. You don't have to respond to people right away in real time. You can still be social on social media and still have your peace of mind, right? Because you're here for a different reason. Like everybody else is using this thing to distract themselves and to stay locked into this little box and believing everything that they see on here and just falling for the narratives that they are being fed. But that's not you, because you're trying to do something different. You're trying to make good work for a long time without stopping. Provide for you, provide for your family. We don't have time for that mess. So what we're going to do is take care of the negative things that might come at us, things we just can't control. And that's not all negative, obviously. There's a lot of things on there that inspire me, make me laugh. It's fun. I love interacting with friends, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is we don't actually control what's being fed to us. That's controlled by the algorithm. And the algorithm's job is to feed you that dopamine hit. So we got to unplug from that. So we got to control the inputs, and that means the positive inputs and negative inputs, shutting down the negative ones, encouraging the positive ones. And obviously there's a lot more that goes into taking care of your creative mind, getting a lot of sleep, eating well, things like this, things that you already know. But this is how you do it, right? If you want to show up for a long time and create good work for a long time without stopping, you have to have a strong and clear vision. You have to meditate on that vision daily. You have to take action and work diligently towards that vision every single day. And you have to make sure that you're taking care of your creative mind. If you do those three things, you will make the best work of your life and be proud of the work that you're leaving behind here. So I'm excited to see what you do with this. Let me know in the comments. Let me know if this was helpful to you. Let me know what you're going to take away from this. I'd love to hear from you and hear what you're working on. But until next time, guys, my name's Chris. Please make good work and put it out into the world this week. Love you guys.